Hi, my name is Steve and this is my 2006 Ford Expedition. Bought this vehicle new in July of 2006, had a 5-year loan for $775 per month and paid it off in 2011. The car has 160,000 miles, still looks and runs pretty good, but it needs a major service and a really good interior and exterior detail. Let me show you around. Overall, the paint's in really good condition, but there's a few things letting it down. It's a nice little ding there. There's one there. This windshield will need to be replaced. There's a knock on that door right there, and there's a chip in the paint. And there's also a ding in the rear of the vehicle. Let's take a look inside. So, floor mats will definitely need to be washed. There's a tear in this seat, and this is discolored, so we're going to replace that as well. Back seats look really good, just need to clean the carpets. Rear of the vehicle looks pretty good too. It will just need to be addressed during the detail. Overall, the car's in really good shape, and that's why I want to do this service and this detail work, because I think this thing can last me another 5 or so years, and I'd like to keep $800 in my pocket every month, because these new go for about 80 grand now, so I definitely don't want to have to buy a new one. Now we're going to take this to my 2-car garage and we're going to do all the work there. This car still drives really well. There are a few issues though. It's got a small oil leak. It makes a little bit of noise from the front of the engine. So we're going to address those. We're going to do a 150,000 mile service on it. And then we're going to do a complete detail fixing those paint issues. I'm going to go put on some shop clothes and see how long we can keep this Expedition running. All right, I got my garage clothes on. Gonna get the Expedition jacked up and get those wheels off. Now that we got the wheels off, let's start draining the oil. Just finished with the oil, going to start on the transmission. finished up with the transmission. Going to drain the rear differential. Now that that's done, let's drain the front diff. Here we have the front differential cover. I got that all cleaned up. And then we have some gasket maker and a gasket. From factory, it didn't have a gasket, but after 160,000 miles, we're going to put one in as a $12 insurance policy. Now it's time to drain and fill the transfer case. Getting ready to bleed the brakes and made an interesting discovery. Come and take a look. So the rear brake bleeders are 10 millimeter, but if you come to the front here, these are 3/8. I don't know why that's the case, but we have both sets of wrenches, so let's get to it. It's a long day in the garage today, but got a lot of work done, so I'll see you in the morning. Pleasantly surprised how well the Expedition's holding up. Engine bay still looks good, undercarriage still looks good. Really happy. This thing might last another 18 years. All right, time to change the oil filter. I took out the old oil filter and I'm about to put in a new one. And I know there's a huge hot topic issue about proper lubrication of a new filter. I know you're supposed to put it full, and that's the proper way to do it. And anytime I'm working on a car that the oil filter goes straight up, I will do that. But this one's at an angle. So if I do that, I'm going to dump half of it off anyway. So this is what I do. Threw some oil in there, and I'm going to let it sit for a minute, and that way everyone on the internet's happy. Okay, back under the car with my oil filter properly lubed up. Is that the way I want to take this channel? Anyway, all right. We're going to install this new oil filter, all right? Another hot button topic on the internet. Hold on. Another hot button topic on the internet is how tight to put this thing. I usually do it hand tight and then a little bit, maybe a quarter of a turn with a wrench. Drop a comment below. What's your preferred style? I'm going to fill up the engine oils. I just topped off the engine oil, and I got a little tip for you guys. So when you have a open, I already put one. This is the second one, and it's open. So when I finish, I like to immediately put the cap back on. And then take the oil funnel out. Because I hate to admit it, on more than one occasion, my elbow has knocked off the oil all over the floor, and it's a disaster. So I try to be a little bit more focused and pay a little bit more attention to detail when I'm doing this kind of stuff, because, Now that the transmission pan's back in place, we're going to add about 3 quarts of transmission fluid. When I get the vehicle running, I'll top that off as needed. You've seen this transfer bottle earlier in the video. I picked it up on Amazon for about 15 bucks. I'm going to use it now to pull out the old power steering fluid. We're going to close the petcock for the radiator now. It's plastic, so I'm going to proceed with caution. We got all the coolant in. When I start the car up, I'll turn the heater on, let it run for a little bit, and then we'll check it again. Moment of truth on the coolant. Let's see how we did. I think that's all we could have hoped for. Well, that wraps up the coolant job. With the transmission fluid and coolant installed, I'm going to get underneath the vehicle, clean it up, see if I can find that oil leak. Got the engine started. You can hear this ticking sound that I mentioned before. Let's take a look at it. You saw when I sprayed WD-40 on that pulley, the noise went away, and actually you can hear it a little bit and it's coming back, so I think there's a bad bearing in there. So I'm going to go ahead and replace that. There's one on the other side of the engine. I'm going to replace that as well. I'm going to let the vehicle run for a little bit with the heat on, get that coolant through the engine. I'm going to move the steering wheel from side to side, lead that power steering unit, and then we're going to check for leaks. It's later in the day. My normal shop clothes have taken a beating. I got them in the washer right now. I went to the parts store to pick up those pulleys, and when I was talking to the guy there, he said they made a kit that was 3 pulleys and the tensioner, and it was like $130, and I was going to have to buy 2 pulleys anyway. So I went ahead and bought that kit, and I will replace all of that. Let me just show you. So here's sort of a diagram. This was the pulley that was making noise, and I was going to replace this, and that pulley anyway. And the kit comes with this, that, tensioner, and one other pulley, I think, down there. So we're going to go ahead and get all that changed out. All right, I'm going to put in this new pulley and tension kit. And I know probably supposed to remove this and this upper radiator hose and this fan shroud and probably the fan and all of that. But I think I can get to all that stuff without having to do that. So I'm going to do that. Let's see if I'm a genius or a fool. All right. I got the belt installed. Hero or fool, I don't know. Maybe jester, somewhere in the middle. I was having trouble with the shop light. It has a magnet, but there's not a lot of steel in here, so it didn't really stick to anything really well. And otherwise, went okay. The belt, like, it's tricky. You have to kind of sandwich it in. Hold on one sec. So you have to sandwich like this belt in between the tensioner and a pulley like this to get it in. And I did it the first time, but for whatever reason, it wasn't working well, and I couldn't figure it out. So I pulled it out and tried it a different way. That definitely didn't work. So I put it back in and finally figured it out. So I think what I said earlier about removing this stuff, that was okay. You know, the first part of the job went really pretty easily, and then, you know, it happens. So, but it's all together now. I think it probably took me an hour. You know, if I was a master mechanic, this would probably take me, 15, 20 minutes, but I'm not one. So it took me what it took, but I got the job done, and I think that's the thing that matters. Good morning. Finished off the idler pulley kit last night, and in editing, I realized I didn't film the summary from yesterday. Well, I actually did film the summary, but I think what happened was I hit pause at one point, and then I came back to hit pause again, and I think I hit stop. So I'm going to do that right now. Yesterday was a really good day. Got a lot accomplished. Finished off with the idler pulley, and before that, I had gone underneath the vehicle to check for oil leaks, and I didn't see anything. And I'm not sure if it just needs to be run at normal operating temperatures for a while. I will check it in just a little bit because I do want to get that oil leak fixed. Yes, last night I kind of ended in a hurry and I was done, and it was a long day. So the shop is kind of a little bit a wreck, and I'm going to go ahead and clean that up this morning, and then I'll give you an update on what we do next. I'm going to give you a current state of the garage right now. So I finished off yesterday, got the belt here, dirty hat, and all that kit. And I actually have my clothes as well, and my shoes, and there's still tools and stuff hanging out. When I was installing the tensioner kit, there was a lot of gunk behind it, and I cleaned it off, and I think a lot got on the floor. So when I went to check the belts, I got filthy. So that's why my clothes are here, because I noticed like chunks of grease, like you might be able to see some, were falling on the ground. I didn't want to tread all that grease into the house, so basically I stripped down to my underwear and headed straight to a shower. So what I'm going to do now is straighten up the garage a little bit. I'm going to get these tires on and get this thing off jack stands. I got the Expedition's wheels on and off jack stands. Now with it on the ground, I'm going to torque the lug nuts to 150 foot-pounds. Chasing down that oil leak, I think I found it. Let's go take a look. I believe it's coming from right here, this oil filter housing gasket. I did some research and found out this is a common problem on these vehicles, so I'm going to go ahead and replace that gasket. This oil housing is proving difficult to get out and even more difficult to shoot, so let me just give you the highlights of what I'm trying to do. So I've taken off the oil filter, and then there's 4 bolts. One there, one there, one way up there, one right there, and then if you can see, my socket is on that far one, and I had to get like 3 extensions that go outside the frame rail there. So I've managed to get all the bolts loose. I'm going to go ahead and take that off, but like I said, it's really difficult to get you guys a good shot. So when I have it off, I'll show you. We got the old gasket out right here. And I think you can see probably right there, but maybe it was leaking, I don't know. I know it was leaking, I just don't know exactly where from, but if you look right there, it's definitely needs to be replaced. And then up here, so that's loose. I was able to get it off, and I didn't have to take off the coolant lines here and back there, so that was really good. I have a bucket under here to get the antifreeze that dripped out, so I'm going to go ahead and clean that surface, both of those surfaces, get the new gasket installed, and I'll give you another update. I got the oil filter housing installed, and then now we're going to install a new oil filter. We have the oil filter in, drain plug installed, and topped off with oil. Now I'm going to install the fuel filter as the final part of the 150,000 mile service. fuel filter's installed, but that's only half the battle. Let me show you what it took to relieve the pressure from the fuel system. So back here, there is an ignition right there. There's like a kill switch. If you get in an accident or flat tire or something, that goes off. Well, you have to unplug it. So, which I did, and I will re-plug that in. But just let me show you what it took to get to there. So basically, I had to destroy almost the entire back of the engine. I had to take off seat belts. I had to remove this and this whole cover. And then stuff's on the ground there. I got tools in a bucket here. So first thing I'm going to do is just plug this thing back in, start the vehicle, make sure that runs, and then I'll address all this stuff and put the vehicle completely back together. We got the car running, so I'm going to go ahead and put it all back together now. Hey guys, finished up for the day, got the shop cleaned up, got myself cleaned up, and I figured I'd come out and give you a summary of what I did for my 150,000 mile service on the Expedition. So I changed the oil and oil filter twice because of that coolant leak. I changed the transmission filter, then added the 3.5 quarts of transmission fluid to fill that up. I replaced the front and rear diff fluid. I replaced the transfer case fluid. I replaced the brake fluid and the power steering fluid, and I installed a new fuel filter. And that was all part of the 150,000 mile service. Not all of that was on this actual service. Some were on 100 or 125, and to be honest, I didn't do either of those. So I figured I would do all of it right now and kind of do a complete, comprehensive service. I also, the things specific to my vehicle in the book about what to check, I did check. I checked the brakes and the brakes pads. I had rotated the tires in December, so I wasn't worried about that. I checked the end play on the tires and the front suspension, and everything looked good, and I checked the exhaust. So like, as of right now, I'm really happy. I feel like I have a solid, complete 150,000 mile service done, and with that engine leak now fixed, I really think this car is going to last a lot longer. Well, that's a wrap on my first ever YouTube video. Next time, we'll replace the leather in the front seats, address the running board covers, replace the windshield, remove the dents, and do a complete interior and exterior detail. Drop a comment below. How do you think I did? I'll see you soon.